making history, all of the districts, increasing retention from teachers, 50 to 80%, that ain't all that you hear me. He is the mentor. He paved the way with his dip methodology, really. Dream, be persistent, face fears, seek change, go out and go get it. This what you learning with Dr. Joe Griffin. With Dr. Joe Griffin, yeah. He says recognize trauma, push past the pain. If you got a problem, go look at his frame. Work your perspective and look at it change. Find a goal, set it in critical thing. Manage time, self-awareness. These are the few of the things he's trying to get you to do every day. Do every day. Led 5 schools to increase test scores with his teacher-principal collaboration. Things he give to you will have you take you drive to the next level. But first, you need to get some fuel at gas station. Supporting education leaders, creating a culture for kids that'll last for ages. Lack of access to quality professional development, that's outrageous. Got his doctorate in education, leadership, research, make changes. Need to put the kids first and raise them. Need to teach them they worth, stop playing. Later on, they gon' run this nation. Dr. Joe with his dissertation taught to those who would fix, make changes. I introduce you to Dr. Joe Griffin, a speaker, consultant, and author's intentions. The teaching and talk is to broaden their vision, the things they weren't taught when they brought up his children. Reach for the top, regardless of situations, predicaments, or your conditions. He's making history, all of the districts, increasing retention from teachers, 50 to 80%, they ain't all that you hear me. He is the mentor. He paved the way with his dip methodology, really. Dream, be persistent, face fears, seek change, go out and go get it. This what you learning with Dr. Joe Griffin. With Dr. Joe Griffin.
Great day, leaders. Welcome to the Empowerment Zone, you all. Week 75. I'm so excited about it. What we talk education dynamics, professional development, and we talk about the latest trends so you can improve in your schools. Welcome. Week 75. Another milestone, you all. Another milestone. It's a great day. I'm thankful that you all are here. We got a wonderful PD for you today. First off, just want to make mention it is Women's History Month. So many trailblazers. So we definitely off the top, we want to salute all of the great women trailblazers who have done so much in the world, not just in education, but in the world. So thankful for those contributions and for the continuous efforts of women as well, you all. Good thing that we are able to be here. As always, you all, I definitely hope that you'll sign in. Let us know where you're streaming in from. Where are you streaming in from, y'all? Let us know. Let us know where you're streaming in from. I see we got a few in already. I see some of the numbers, but definitely let us know where you're streaming in from, if you will. All right. Professional development, you all. This is what it's all about. Also, as always, I want to give a moment of silence just for our country, you all. Y'all know what's going on. You all know what it is. You're seeing everything that's happening just like I am. So we don't have to talk about it, but we definitely can have a moment of silence for us all at this time. And for those in our families, our friends who are all being affected by all the things that are happening in our nation today, y'all. Just a quick moment of silence. Yeah. Y'all know I like to do that. I definitely like to do that. Try to do that every week because you have to constantly be aware of our situations. That's one of the big part of self-awareness, is also being socially aware of those things that are happening around us. So definitely, you all, I want to encourage you all today. I got to encourage you all today. Just uplift you because I know what you're going through. I know what you're dealing with. I know that you have things that are in front of you that you got to meet. You got deadlines. You got everything that's going on in your lives as well as what's going on professionally with you. So I want to definitely uplift you. And that's coming from a source of just love, just love. And I think about it. I was thinking about this week after a principal and I had a conversation. Let's see. We had a conversation, you all, and, we were talking about the strengths. We were talking about the challenges that they're facing or what have you. And one of the things that, everything that basically I was suggesting at that point, they were saying that they were already doing it, that they had everything that they needed, and that kind of thing, right? And of course, I'm okay with that because it's the conversation for me. It's the dialogue. It's being able to be a person who is there, who will support if need be. You can't worry about those that not supporting. You have to worry about those that do support and those who also need your support. So to carry that conversation on, we hung up after a 30-minute conversation. We hung up, and about 10 minutes after we got off the Zoom, we hung up off the Zoom. And once we called back, she called me on the cellular phone. And the words were, I just lied the whole time. We're not doing those things. I just try to be in a position of confidence all the time. And I know that in these leadership positions, you're supposed to know, but Dr. Griffin, none of those things that you mentioned are we doing. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about how we can get into place. And she was almost to tears. And you know, in me, that was, I just thanked her because that takes a lot of courage, a lot of vulnerability. So I know that all the times we don't want to get the support that we need, but sometimes we got to go ahead and do it for the betterment of the kids, for the betterment of the organization, and ultimately the better of the communities that you serve. So definitely want to make mention of that. Let's see what we got here. Definitely appreciate you, Coach Dot Makita Jiva, live from Calumet City, Illinois. Definitely appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it. And we definitely want to mention the passing of Jesse Jackson as well. Thank you for that, Coach. Definitely. Rest in peace, Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson actually came to my hometown as a kid. And I remember taking that picture of him and my mom. It's somewhere, but I did that as a kid. I remember him speaking over at, I believe that was either Haven Church or either First Baptist Church, one of those churches in the hometown, Clarksdale, Mississippi, home of the Blues. But just before we get started with our prelude today, again, don't be afraid to get the support you need, leaders as well as teachers, and making sure that you put yourself in a position where we can do better. That's all. That's what it's all about every day, all of the time. Let's go. Let's go, y'all. We're going to bring in our prelude. And before we start talking about those priorities, and we got a 3-part series. Before we start talking about the priorities, right? I want to let you know that priorities change. But make sure that you're prioritizing the right things, right? Because in life, we got different stages and we go through different phases. So as a youth, you know, your priorities a lot of times, it might be playing a video game, having fun. It might be your favorite sport, things of that nature. As you go through life, you get older, your responsibilities, your priorities, what's important, it begins to change. It begins to mature. You start thinking about bills. You start thinking about all of the different things. You start thinking about your family, your kids. You think about your career and things of that nature as you mature and keep growing and keep going. So every stage has those priorities, and it's easy to pick priorities, but choosing the right priorities at the right time. That's what we're going to talk about today. See, some people just stay busy. You're doing things, you're doing the work, you're fully engaged in the work, but it's not the work that's going to push your school community to the next level. It's not the work that's going to help you be that successful doctor, that successful lawyer, whatever it is that you want to be and what you're working toward. You got to make sure you got those priorities lined up the right way so that you can be productive and not just busy. You want to stay focused on those things that feel urgent, right? And sometimes those things that feel urgent, they might not be what's really important. So again, establishing those boundaries, establishing those lines so that you can enact the right priorities, that's a skill in itself. And that's one of the things that I was able to help develop, help learn over the course of my tenure as turnaround school improvement principal, as an English teacher, professor as well. So I continue to try to bring that to the light. And as always, we want your collaboration. If you think of things as we going through the conversation, put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Let's go. Right? Same thing is true in education, though. We're going into the first week of March, and you got to have your priorities in order. You got to have your priorities in order. It's not the time to shift away from everything that you've been doing, but it's a time to tighten them up. It's a time for you to straighten that narrow focus, because you got several weeks. I know a couple of schools that I'm working with are going to be testing in the next 15 school days, because you have that spring break broken down in there as well, a lot of times in different places. Now you got some people on the year-round model. They're going to be out 2 weeks coming up, and then they're going to come back and be prepared for testing as well. But all through the country right now, you got leaders and teachers making shifts, because it's that season. It's testing season. It's assessment season. It's why you're in the business. Of course, you definitely educate kids, but they monitor and measure how kids are educated based on the standardized tests. Wow. Based on the standardized test, the mastery of standards. That's why it's standardized testing. So we definitely want to continue to think about that as we move forward. Let's see what we got here. Definitely appreciate all of the send outs. You must prioritize. Just like rocking in the chair, you could be moving but not going anywhere. Facts, big facts, as they say. And here's the thing, you all, when priorities are unclear, when you don't really know where you're headed, teachers, students, leaders, they get confused. They get confused, and frustration creeps in. We start having collaboration issues, minor disagreements that sometimes turn into major disagreements. All that's a matter and a product of our priorities. What are we prioritizing, right? So we got to continue to think about that. First thing, you are, I'm gonna go through 5 of them today. It's part 1. Broken it down into basically 3 parts, and we'll go from there. But today we're talking about some of your instructional priorities, because you got a fresh set of data, right? So that first thing is going to be review the latest data set with purpose. What do you mean with purpose? Meaning down the stretch, that data has to drive the instruction. You have to allow the data to guide what you need to be teaching, because at this point, you should have basically covered the curriculum, covered all of your objectives. And now it's time to center in on what the data reads even more. You had your benchmark monitorings. You've been doing that the whole year also. But now on this last data set, because you got to bring it. You got to bring it down the stretch. You got to remain with an urgent sense. You got to keep it urgent, not panicky, because when you prepare, you don't have to panic, but you want to keep it urgent. This is a sense of urgency down the stretch from everybody, because it is important. We do need the team to be focused. We do need students to be at school. We do need teachers to be at school. We need that, you all. So that's important that we know how we're going to look at this data, and not being intimidated by it, but allowing it to focus us, you all. Y'all like, comment, subscribe, share out too. Definitely, please activate the algorithms for us. If you don't do anything else, share it out, all of that, because we're going to bring it today, because I know what we got coming down this stretch, you all. I'm seeing it all the time, and quite frankly, had a chance to deal with it quite a few years, and we happy about being able to share, being able to come out every single week. Week 75, another milestone. So yeah, we happy about that. But looking at that recent benchmark data, y'all, you got to make adjustments by it. You can't allow it to run you. You have to run the data. You want to ask a few questions. What gaps do I see? What trends do I see? What students are close to mastery? Because you got a whole nother game within the game of bubble students. And if you on an accountability model, you know what bubble students are. We've talked about it quite a bit on a couple of different shows. So I'm not going to go all the way back into what they are, but those bubble kids are crucial right now down the stretch. You can't let them go without that intensive tier 2 instruction, being able to supplement what you're doing in that whole group instruction right now. It's crucial. It's crucial, y'all. And here's the thing. You got to love it. You got to love it. You got to enjoy making those adjustments because it's not going to happen in a negative environment anyway. So you want to make sure you loving what you do. You putting kids in situations where they could be successful, and you helping teachers be able to build their mastery of the standards also. Because the more they have time with them, especially when you pull them out and you're able to center in on those weaknesses, center in on those strengths as well, because now I got to pull it out. And that forces me to have to do something with it. If I pull out the standard, now I've got to do something with it and ensure that the kids are being assessed by it, right? What areas can truly grow? Look at those blueprints. Like, you got to look at your state assessment blueprint right now. You may not have referenced it since August. I'm going to say that again. You may not have referenced it since August, but now it's still a perfect time to go and reference that blueprint because now it tells you how many points are in each area. You get 12 points for comprehension, 12 points for main idea. Those are the two biggest points. There's only 48 points on this particular test. So now you're looking at 24 of them right there. Say boom. Right? Now we got something we can focus in on. That's a different conversation for teachers. Now you taking this load and you saying, this is the core, and you taking part of that load off because now we got some data and we're going to master this data. We're going to run the data. The data will not run us, and that's got to be your goal. So priority one, make sure that you're doing just that. Okay, make sure you're doing that. Target those areas for growth. You got to use that data as a flashlight, not a hammer. That's one of my key statements. Flashlight, not a hammer. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. Priority two, you all. Priority two. We're going to keep it going. We're going to keep it going. Priority two. Hope you got that first one, you all. Definitely recognize where you are with that data. Priority two. And this is a powerful way of doing it versus remediation. We're going to accelerate versus remediate. Yeah. We're going to accelerate versus remediate. You can't go back. You truly can't go back to August to March. It's not possible, but you can accelerate the students from where they are. You got to move them from where they are because, again, most school districts right now, you're looking at 3 to 6 weeks to testing. You can't get August to March back, but you can accelerate from March on. How do you do that? Looking at that data like we just said. Now you're going to accelerate the learning because it's testing season. One of the biggest mistakes is trying to reteach everything. That's a big, big mistake. Instead, just meet them where they are. Identify those skills that they are close to mastering, and you cross-reference it with the blueprint for the test that you're taking for your particular state. Now I come back in and I accelerate the learning from there. Now I can attack that critical or that key standard at a more focused rate. Woo-wee. I'm trying to tell you all, this is how you're going to get it. This is how you're going to move your kids, your school, and ultimately your community, right? So you're going to provide that targeted practice. We're not doing just anything at this point. Everything is targeted. Everything is moving toward the goal. You're going to ask some deeper questions, right? You're going to encourage those students to explain their reasoning. You're going to go on deep this time because now I need to hear you say it back to me. If you can't repeat it back to me, you don't understand it. If you can't tell me why the wrong answers are wrong and the right answers are right, that means there's a comprehension issue in there. That doesn't mean that you didn't get the answer right, but that does mean that you still didn't quite understand it. And I need you to fully understand it because we're going into these tests. We're accelerating. Accelerate versus remediate. If y'all like that one, put that in the chat for me. Y'all accelerate instead of trying to remediate my kids, right? Instead of trying to remediate my kids, we got to accelerate them. Coach said the data drives your instruction and it tells the story. Yes, indeed. That's the truth. That's the truth. That's the truth, you all. Priority three, you all, because we rolling, we rocking and rolling. Again, please like, comment, subscribe, share out, all of that. I know we got educators and leaders who need this, right? Who are going to go into a situation on Monday not knowing what to do or not having the plan fully in place that they need to have in place. So we want to save our children. Make sure we go in here and focus and do what we need to do, y'all. Reinforce those high-yielding instructional practices. That's priority 3. Reinforce the high-yielding instructional practices. Your signature strategies. We talk about signature strategies all the time. Now you want to reinforce them, but you want to use them in a way that everything, again, is centered. There's a narrower focus or more narrow focus with your signature strategies because we've narrowed the focus on the instruction. So we also have to narrow the focus on the objectives by making sure we get those highest yielding ones covered. And you say, what is that about? Well, you got to have student discussion. You got to have engagement. All of that. You got to clearly model those thinking processes. You got to do your read aloud. Now I'm going to show you what the visualization looks like. I'm going to show you what it looks like to ask questions during my reading. I'm going to model that. And once I'm able to model that, now the students can take it over as well because all they need is a jump start. All they need is a sentence starter here or there, something to get them boosted, something to let them know it can be done, a model so they can follow in your footsteps. Now I'm starting to ask questions while I read because I saw my teacher do it. I saw my principal illustrate that and make sure it's emphasized to the teachers, and now the teachers are able to deliver it. That's powerful information, you all. And it's something that we got to continue to reiterate because it'll go away. What you mean it'll go away? We just forget. We don't do it. We'll forget and don't do it. Y'all not in the schools that I'm in, or you don't understand? I understand that sometimes we forget, and that has always been an issue. But again, if we continue to normalize that feedback, continue to coach through it all, now you can get that consistency that you need. Now you can continue to build those students up to where you're trying to get them to, you all. So again, guided practice with that feedback piece. You got to make sure it's there. Teachers, they got to rely on those instructional practices that have gotten them there. But at the same time, now I'm going to focus in on those objectives and standards that the students need to master. So again, you're narrowing that focus, prioritizing what exactly you need to be prioritizing. That's what it's all about, you all. Priority 4, you all. Priority 4, strengthen the daily academic structure. Strengthen it, tighten it up. Continue to do those bell ringers and exit tickets that look like the state test. But now what you're going to emphasize in the middle is that structure piece, where you continue to narrow that focus, continue to go in, continue to make sure that those objectives are being covered, right? Making sure that now we're going to have a even more influx of state test items, things that they're going to match those objectives and help those students master. Yeah, we got our curriculum. We're going to continue to use it as we do. But now, again, we got to make sure we have that influx of that extra material. It's crucial. That's the way you make sure that you have a sense of urgency down the stretch. That's the way you make sure you have a consistent focus down the stretch by ensuring everyone's on the same page. That's that clarity piece also. All of that is coming together. Y'all see where that's connecting at right there? It's crucial that you understand what we're saying. Here's the last thing, you all, for today. Well, number 5 for today. You got to model with confidence and calm. Sure, getting ready for state assessments is not an easy endeavor at all. Not at all. You got to have all hands on deck. You got to have a committed team, a vision that will last, that's implementable, that you can actually do. All of this is matter. All of this matters. So students know when teachers and leaders aren't as calm as they should be, when they're not quite as confident as they need to be down the stretch. But again, if you go in with your plan and you prepare, don't just sit back and say whatever happens is supposed to happen. Don't just sit back and say that I've done all I can do. Don't just sit back and say the teachers have done everything they can do, and it's time for the test. And you don't want that type of atmosphere. You want to have it where you continue to push it to next levels, that you continue to seek higher, greater, better, that you're not going to give up, that you're going to continue to be resilient. That's important. That's crucial, you all. So make sure that your leaders and your teachers continue to project that confidence. Make sure that they understand where the kids need to go through those objectives. Now, nobody's perfect. We understand that. You don't want them pretending. We understand that. But we do want them to have a positive attitude. We want them to be in the mode of accelerating. We want them to be in the mode of pushing students to next level. And that's a mindset. You got those teachers in your school probably, because I've seen them in different places. I had them on staff. I know how sometimes they talk and think, oh, he ain't going to do anything on the test, or she's not going to do anything. The mother this or the mother that. And here's the thing, you all, and I'm adamant about it, because we can't allow that type of mentality to slip into our schools and project it on our children. It might be the very day that the light bulb turns on and the student decides for himself or herself that he's going to get this education. Because it's not that he does not have the capacity to learn it. He doesn't have the motivation. Professor Kafele talks often about the attitude gap, the distance between knowing and doing. So when that light bulb switches on, oh, you're in a different area now. Now we moving, and you not the person that should say that he's not going to have that light bulb moment, or she's not going to have that opportunity to turn it on and turn it up. Don't place that on our students. Don't place that on our students. Definitely appreciate you, coach. Appreciate you all the time. Definitely. So, a couple of questions, you all. I got a couple of questions for you. You know, I'm gonna ask you some questions now. What are the most important academic priorities that you pushing right now? Not in August, because now you got to size it down. You got to have a little more focus, because you want to do well. So which ones are you prioritizing right now down the stretch? So many, but what have you decided? What are your decisions about the data? What you gonna do with the data? It's one thing to have it. You can look at it, see it, you can highlight it, but what you gonna do with it? What's the adjustment? What's the change? What's the upgrade? All of that's crucial. You want to look at which strategies have been most effective over the course of the year, because again, you're narrowing your focus. We can't do everything all over again. There's not enough time to do everything all over again. So now we only have 3 to 6 weeks, depending on where you are, for state testing. What are those implementations going to be? What kind of moves will you make? What kind of discussions you're going to have with your team? What kind of meetings you're going to have? What's the conversation? All of this is what you need to be asking yourself right now, because you as the leader, you as the teachers who are head in the classroom, you can't be in question. You want to have it where right now you have that clarity, you have that focus. What are those instructional practices? All that's crucial, you all. All that's crucial, you all. And one of the things I want to definitely promote and tell you down the stretch, that it's not going to necessarily come from doing so much more. It's going to come from doing your priorities, because you can't do that much more with this amount of time. You got to do things that count. I can't tell you what they are, because I have to come to your school and do an analysis and kind of see what your talent levels are looking like. What are your teachers doing on a day-to-day basis? But those are questions that you have to ask yourself. And it's going to come from doing the right things at the right moment. That's why I decided that this series will be called Identifying Priorities Down the Stretch, to ensure a strong finish. Your start hopefully has been great, but despite how it's gone, you still want to ensure you have a strong finish. And you can do that. That's why I'm here today, to encourage you, uplift you, give you some principles to think about, to eat on, to chew on, because we can't do it alone. I told you the story at the beginning of the PD about one of the principals that I spoke with here recently. That's a true story. And I'm thankful that she had the gall, the vulnerability piece to even call me back after that, because I really feel like that tightens our relationship moving forward, because now I know that how to support her even better. So I definitely appreciate you all for being here as always, because if I look back and I didn't see you all checking it out every time, if I didn't get the inboxes from you, if I didn't get some of the invites, I would say that we weren't doing it. But I know that we're doing something for the ones that tune in. I appreciate you all every week, every time. Continue to live, love, and learn with your heart. Continue to search for wisdom so you can find your true purpose. And continue to be courageous so that you can drown out all fear and be you need to be in your educational spaces, community, and all the places that you visit. To all, a great Saturday evening. And if you're catching the replay, whatever day you're catching the replay, make sure you make the week count. Let's go.